Yoda.
Good morning. I'm going to share this space around a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to click out for a little bit. I'll be here. I'll be listening, but I'm going to turn my mic off. Post it on Twitter in the group.
Okay. I'll be getting set up too. Three viewers in here. Yay. Okay. Let me just get my head wrapped around what I'm doing here. So I want to share. I'm sure you guys don't want to see my mug the whole time. We're on space stream. This is the space stream. Yes, space stream, because we are aliens. Okay, that is. There you go. We're not going to be looking at my Twitter the whole time either. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, please do. If you're in here, then you like crypto and you like UFO and pTGC probably. And I'm a big proponent of crypto and these assets in particular. So follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I should put a link to my Twitter in the. Hey Shaka, it's good to have you here. And we should all be following each other on Twitter, actually, because when we do, we spread our influence, if you will. All right. And I wanted to use that as kind of a backdrop for today, which is the chart that I've been keeping track of. Okay, we got the Gray 369 in here, Coach. Chris, good to have all y'all. There's one guy in particular I'm hoping shows up, Derek, and I have to look through my glasses to read these names. Matthias. Yay. All right, you guys know the drill. Clintrons, good day. I don't think I've seen you before. Yeah, if you guys want to speak, raise your hand, however you need to do it on your end, and I will see you want to speak, and we'll make that happen. Derek, you want to speak? Let's go ahead and do it. Let's be reckless. Let's do it, man. Adding you as a speaker. What's happening, Derek? You're muted.
Yeah, I just was given speaker privileges. So, yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Glad risings. Is that all you wanted to say?
No, I'm just really happy to be in this space once again. This is my second one or third one that I've been in. Haven't been in that many, but it's just really great to be here.
Cool. Hey, man, tell us how you got into pTGC and UFO. I mean, in 5 minutes or less, give us your background and what excites you about these protocols.
Okay, so for pTGC specifically, I was actually told about it from a friend who was in pTGC before it had its last run up, and he said that he sold the last top and was able to profit from it. And this was when I had not really knew that much about it. So he told me about it at the time. I grabbed like 1 million tokens to start, and that was the amount that I was sitting on for a good while. And mind you, I really didn't know much about pTGC in general, but as I started to dive deeper into what pTGC is and how it works by reading the white paper and going on the website and all that good stuff, that's when I started to DCA into it a bit more. And this was well before I had even learned about UFO. But once I did find out about UFO and how that serves as an amplifier to buy and burn more of pTGC, then that's when I started to aggressively dollar cost average into UFO and built my position there. And since then, I've just been going back and forth between buying the two of them because both of them are really great holds, especially for the long term. But as I began to dive into the overall ecosystem even further and understand how pTGC is essentially the mothership of the entire ecosystem, that is when I became more and more bullish on not just those two tokens, but the entire ecosystem as a whole. And for me, joining the few spaces that I have joined thus far, in addition to mainly being in the Telegram, I think it took being in the Telegram to like really enable me to learn as much as I can because you all are sharing such valuable information in the Telegram group, and I learned a lot every day when I check the messages and I see what people have to say. And like I said, all of that combined just really allows me to be that much more grateful to be in this space early, because at the end of the day, we're taking part in something that's really phenomenal. And in my opinion, this is one of the best ecosystems that's out there and is truly unique. There's nothing really like it that I've ever seen before. And as time goes on, I'm just looking forward to not only learning more about it and just hanging out with you guys, whether it's in the Telegram or whether it's in these spaces, but once Pulsechain really gets running up, like for real, like I'm really excited to see what takes place in this pTGC ecosystem. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much how I first got in and how I've learned more and more over time and just really came to appreciate what this ecosystem has to offer. Like, it's truly special, and I'm just really glad to be a part of it.
Thanks, Derek. I appreciate that. That's a good story. And it is easy to forget about some tokens that we hold, perhaps, if we're not engaged in the community. And many of us hold tokens that, we can only be engaged in like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 communities, whatever we can handle. And if we have more tokens, for example, than communities that we can handle being in, it's easy to forget that you can hold, that you have those, and but it's important to not lose sight of why you held those. Like if you moved into another community and you're holding your pTGC in your wallet, it would be easy to lose sight of why you're holding pTGC. And then the temptation would be there to, I'm going to get out of this token and get into this other token, and you could really wreck yourself. So it's important to, I guess it would be important to stay engaged in the community. We would naturally do this anyhow, of our favorite token. So yeah, I really wanted to hear your story because I see you in the chat quite a bit. And thank you for sharing that very much.
Of course, my pleasure.
Cool. Coach?
Yeah, Derek, thanks for coming up and sharing that. It's really interesting to me personally, because obviously I have such an attachment to this ecosystem, to see what actually intrigued individuals with this protocol, because then I know what parts are actually grabbing people's attentions, and then I can focus on those parts more.
Oh yeah.
And also other way around, like maybe, you look like, this is just an example, but maybe I think everyone's interested in the tech and the fact that we believe we're one of the first to do these tokenomics and we're here on Pulsechain, but maybe it's you like the alien theme, and I'm like completely off path there. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. I also had a question. Do you come from the Pulsechain and Hex community at all, or were you like more on another chain and saw this ecosystem like pTGC and UFO and come over here, or were you kind of already here?
So originally, I'm glad that you asked that question. So originally, I was keeping track of when Pulsechain was gonna first launch. So whenever I had that initial opportunity to get into Pulsechain first, that is what was basically my first opportunity to get into Pulsechain, and then from there, I was able to get into the other core RH tokens. Which, on that note, just for the core RH token specifically, my favorite one is the incentive token, and from the core, that is my most bullish core RH token. And if I was to pick another token or ecosystem that I'm equally bullish on, it would definitely be this one for sure. So I had first found out about Hex on Ethereum. Like, that's where it all started for me. And then from there, I was able to get into Pulsechain and all the other core RH tokens. That was my starting point. And then from there, I was able to branch out into other tokens within the Pulsechain ecosystem. And pTGC and UFO were, even though they were some of the latter tokens that I got into, they are by far two of the most bullish tokens that I'm most interested in. So that's kind of how things got started for me and how I got up to this point. So for me, pTGC and UFO are not only the best short-term hold, but it's for sure one of the best long-term holds to have in your portfolio, because over time, I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this ecosystem grows and how it's going to develop over time. So I'm really excited about it.
Did the because I could be wrong here because I haven't studied a ton of other protocols, but I believe we're one of the only protocols that have a very, very large pairing with ink. I know that there's a few others, but did that attract you at all because you were saying you were so into the ink token itself, and then knowing that pTGC and UFO are tying so heavily with ink, does that make you at all more bullish on the ecosystem, or have you even thought about that in general?
I personally have not thought about that in general, but again, once I had learned about that, that was kind of like a bonus for me, just to fuel my incentive even more on this ecosystem. But as I've stated, like, I continue to learn more and more about this ecosystem. So the fact that you had mentioned that specifically for me, that's an even better bonus for me as to why I'm so grateful to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that's, if Ink and PulseX and even Hex keep outperforming Pulsechain, it really gives us an advantage over most protocols because of the liquidity bondings we have with them. Because even if Hart's Law takes place for every project on all of Pulsechain in general, but most people are only tied to Pulsechain, but then we're tied to things that are outperforming Pulsechain, it gives us an extra boost pretty much over every other token on Pulsechain, because we're getting the X multiplier on the tokens that are also doing kind of X multipliers to an extent. They're just more leverage plays of Pulsechain, but it gives us a little bit of a running head start, which is nice, especially if like you're specifically bullish on Ink, or if you're specifically bullish on PulseX, or even Hex for that matter. It, in my opinion, is really unique because you don't just see this stuff on other chains for the most part. No one's pairing with sub tokens, and the Vitalik on Ethereum doesn't have 3 other leverage plays that you can actually connect to. He's just got Ethereum.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that specific component right there is what enabled me to learn that there are going to be a lot of tokens, or I should say a number of tokens within this ecosystem that do end up vastly outperforming Pulsechain. And I am fully confident that pTGC and UFO will be two of those tokens that do outperform, which is why my Pulsechain holdings specifically are a bit on the lower side, because of the fact that it's more beneficial for me to invest more into the high quality tokens that can do those number of X's against Pulsechain to give you an even greater return on investment. So as I started to learn more about that component of it, that's what made me even more bullish on pTGC and UFO specifically.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you really start digging into it. A lot of people kind of think when you land on Pulsechain that Pulsechain is going to be the top performing token over here, but once you kind of dig into it, you realize that tokens the sea, but we all have our ships on the sea, and the ships are going to rise and fall with the sea itself, but we have tons of X's that we can do on our own comparatively to the blockchain. And then the blockchain is just a multiplier on top of that. Like, even if you look back at pTGC from 2 months after launch, after the first dip, which that first dip was already up a lot of X's from the launch price, but a lot of people can't get the launch price because they don't know about the project yet. They haven't had time to do research. But even from that point, we're up still like 13x from that level, with Pulsechain literally at 0x. So it's very interesting, because if you just, and this is not everyone's going to do this, but if someone, like I know some people who took some of their Pulsechain and bought that dip, you felt like you're kind of making a little bit of a riskier move, but once you figure out the tokenomics and you actually really think about it, it was actually a pretty smart move, since this is a leverage play on the ecosystem. And at the bottom of Pulsechain, if you're going to leverage it and Pulsechain starts moving up, that means you get the leverage in the up direction. And that's technically why we're up 13x from that point. And this is the bottom again. So it's very interesting.
Absolutely, I agree. And it's also interesting to mention that as well, because one of the things that was mentioned was the last run-up that pTGC had, that was without UFO. So now that UFO has been in the mix, buying and burning even more pTGC, on top of the fact that pTGC itself has been getting bought and burned, this next leg up is going to be unbelievable, in my opinion. Like, I'm just so excited to really see it, on top of the fact that the amount of pTGC that's available to buy, some people have noted that that's the lowest levels that it's been at. So as more and more is getting bought and burned, we're going to be in a very amazing place pretty soon, as far as like what this next run up is going to look like. And I'm just truly excited for all of us that get to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how UFO affects pTGC in this next run up, because last scenario, obviously that wasn't the case. And I honestly think it's going to blow people's minds. I think it's going to blow my mind a little bit.
I hope so.
But yeah, thank you all so much for letting me share my story. Again, I really appreciate having the opportunity to come into these spaces and speak and share what I would like to share, and also hear what you guys have to say as well. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Lauren.
No, we appreciate you coming up. It makes the space a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. Lauren, you have permission to speak, and you're muted. Lauren, you there? Okay, if anybody else, Lauren, I'm going to remove you from speakers. If you want to speak, raise your hand again. If anybody wants to come up and tell us how you got into pTGC or UFO and what you like about them, or either or, just raise your hand. And while we're waiting, guys, and we don't need to stay on that topic. We can talk about anything. This is an open space to chat about Pulsechain, pTGC, and UFO. But I'll just briefly give my backstory. It's very short. I had heard about pTGC from Crypto Kindness, and I follow him on Twitter. And he posted a picture, and I'd heard about it, but I can't be. I only have so much bandwidth. I only have so much capital. And I hadn't seen the light. So, but I follow him on Twitter, and he posted, what pushed me over the edge was he posted a picture of Axis Alive, who I look up to and respect, and Axis Alive's membership in the pTGC Telegram. That's what pushed me over the edge. And I immediately got in because I was like, okay, Kindness is promoting this. He's excited about it. And Axis Alive is in the Telegram. He's a smart cookie. I'm in. And that's my backstory. I refer to Crypto Kindness as my pTGC dad because he's ultimately who brought me in. Coach, what's shaking today, man?
Banana, because
Yes.
those were streams that I did a long time ago, I think. Or maybe I did another one when UFO first came out. Was it that one, or was it one of the pTGC streams from, I don't know,
like January or so?
January. I think that was a pTGC stream. It's hard to remember. They're getting mixed up now.
It's okay. I'll actually look. I've got a list of all the streams you've done and the month, so we can actually look back and see when that one was. I think founder interviews. So Crypto Kindness, you did a stream with him in January. That was about pTGC, and then UFO, you guys streamed about that in May.
Okay, yeah. So it was one of the first ones. Was it like, did you watch it recently after we did it, or was it a little bit delayed? Like,
oh, very recent.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, right when it went out.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah. Mando, what's happening, man? You're muted. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Still on a awesome vacation, traveling around the country. And, I think it's very good for the recorded spaces to talk about where the protocol is now compared to where we were the last time Pulsechain was at these levels, and what Zen thinks in terms of, when people are looking at a protocol to invest in, it helps to kind of hear from people who live and breathe the numbers and the underlying fundamentals. For people who are new, what are we looking at in terms of the pTGC ecosystem when Pulsechain, let's just say, even just goes back to sack price and starts to actually break free? I'm thinking personally that we're probably going to start seeing this. We're probably going to see a turnaround sometime after September. Ethereum will start to move. The market will start to move. But people need to know the underlying fundamentals of what the pTGC ecosystem offers them as an investment. And, you know, when we're staring at like an $8 million market cap from where we were when we started, you know, knowing how the numbers work and how the volume runs through the mechanics of the liquidity web, you know, there's no forward-looking expectations. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results or anything like that. But can we just have a fun, friendly conversation about what are the potentials based on past volume, where we're headed? And I'm wondering,
I would love to hear that.
I'm wondering if Zen can speak to that a bit. There's obviously a disclaimer. None of this is financial advice. None of this is forward looking. But I would like to just hear his thoughts on, just based on the last 3 cycles within the ecosystem, looking at the volume, what are we looking at potentially moving forward from here? You know, if Pulsechain starts to go into a new all-time high.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of different things that play into volume daily, especially with this ecosystem. We have our web growing in size, which will increase the arbitrage opportunity. So we're going to increase volume just there. We now have the fact that the PulseX auto router is using our pools, and we're going to get volume there. And then also we have the effect of just Pulsechain not being in the bottom of the trenches like it is right now, which will make it to where the chain is more lively and active, and also natural buys coming in. In the past, I believe that last run up, our DAO was filling up with, I believe, 100 billion pulse every couple days, every day even maybe at times, which was huge buying burns on the protocol. Hence, one of the reasons why we were really chugging upwards in that direction, because our protocol was just naturally buying and burning itself at a really rapidly rate. And that's what's interesting about this protocol is as the blockchain increases in volume, it actually increases our price, because that volume is directly correlated to our price due to the fact that that volume goes to mainly buy and burns and LP ads. That's one thing. The other thing that we haven't gotten to even put into effect is now that UFO has such a large liquidity web on top of pTGCs, it's increasing pTGC's liquidity web in like an indirect way because of UFO buying and burning pTGC at 1%, which is actually quite a lot. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting metric as well, because personally, I believe UFO will have more volume than pTGC, but a lot of that reward system is actually just going to pTGC. So in my opinion, that volume landing on UFO is just as valuable as the volume landing on pTGC itself.
So what are we doing right now? What is the protocol doing in terms of Pulse being added to the DAO on a monthly basis currently? Are we still on pace, you know, for generating, you know, 50 to 75,000 a month in Pulse coming to the system itself? And obviously not all of that is going to the DAO. Some of it's going to the other. But are we still tracking with 50 to 75 grand of Pulse per month?
Yeah, I think honestly it could even be more, because right now the volume of the chain is very, very low. There's not many users coming in, and then also our liquidity pools have all been sucked down to lower levels than they normally are due to the price of the blockchain we're tied to / all the other tokens we're tied to being really, really far down. As the blockchain and these other items we're tied to start to move up, along with our token moving up in price as well, if it's just due to pairings or if it's due to natural buy-ins / buy-in burns, whatever it may be. But in the past, this is how we've performed, is naturally when the blockchain moves up, we move up more. And in that situation, our LP pools will grow. And as our LP pools grow, we will receive that much more arbitrage volume. So right now, these last couple of days have been really, really slow as far as natural volume, just because of where we are. But let's say we're receiving, a few days ago, we received $50,000 in volume on UFO.
Well, we just to interject, we're averaging 36,000 a day in volume for the last 30 days.
Okay, well, that's great information. So we're technically getting 36,000 in volume a day. I would honestly say majority from arbitrage bots. I would say at least that's 80% arbitrage bots and 20% human interaction. So if we can, let's say 1,000 of that is from arbitrage bots. Well, if our ecosystem can 10x the size, and that can be due to our price increasing, let's say 2x, and Pulsechain increasing 5x. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, the UFO ecosystem increased itself by 10x. Then our liquidity pools wouldn't be up 10x necessarily. They'd probably be up like 8x or something like that. But just for conversation purposes, let's say our liquidity pools are up 10x. Well, now because of our liquidity pools being up 10x, the arbitrage bots will now have to move 10x the amount of money to fix the prices in the other pools. And then if the arbitrage bots are moving 10x the money, that means we're taxing 10x the money. So instead of $36,000 in volume a day, we could almost count on, or 30,000 from arbitrage bots, we could almost count on 300,000 in volume daily from only arbitrage bots. And that's only at a 10x from here. That's, I think we believe UFO and pTGC and the Pulsechain ecosystem is going to do a lot more than that. 10x is actually pretty minor. Last time Pulsechain did a 4x, we did a 4DX because of our amplification and our token itself. But so if we increase by 10x, pretty much our volume should naturally increase by roughly 10x as well. And if we're receiving 300,000 a day in volume, what would that be a month? Hold on.
Well, that's 400. It's actually 450,000 a month in Pulsechain coming to the ecosystem.
Exactly. Yep. So that 450,000 obviously a month gets divided up amongst a couple things. It goes to reflections and rewards to the holders, or PLS rewards to UFO providers. It goes to buy and burns. It goes to the DAO. It goes to natural LP, or not natural, automatic LP ads via the smart contract. So it gets divided up. But $450,000 going back to the underlying value of the ecosystem. If it's rewards, if it's reflections, if it's buy and burns, if it's LP ads, whatever it be, it's being used to benefit the holders of the protocol. And $450,000 going into a microcap every single month is huge. No one's doing that.
Well, that's 180,000 a month just going back to the treasury.
Yeah. And what is that? That's like, if this was happening with UFO, I think that would be probably roughly 80. Well, I did times 0.5, but instead of, or 0.05 instead of 0.06. I would say that would be roughly $80,000 a month to buy and burns that UFO would be doing just alone to pTGC. And then also itself, it would be buying and burning $80,000 of UFO itself as well. So you pretty much have an investor that's coming in every single month and buying up $80,000 of both pTGC and UFO, and then sending it to the dead address. Only at a 10x. You can obviously multiply these numbers even higher, just depending on how high you think Pulsechain and UFO and pTGC will go.
Yeah, but I mean, we're looking at basically almost $500,000 a month coming back to the system in one way or another at that level.
Correct.
So when you couple the fact that we didn't have UFO within the liquidity web, and that on the last run we had half the amount of tokens burned, so the floor has doubled in terms of its increase. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what this next cycle run-up does whenever it hits.
I think the distribution this run is a lot better as well, too. Naturally, that's what happens when you have a run-up and then a consolidation period. Some people that had earlier positions who don't have long-term mindsets, because this happens with any launch of tokens. Some people find protocols early, but they're not really long-term investors, or they don't see the vision long-term. They're just looking for a quick buck to flip it into something else. Those people get washed out, and our protocol has just continued to buy them out, send it to the dead address, send tokens to the long-term holders, etc. So I think that's another thing that will play in the favor on the next run is, and goes for Pulsechain as well too. That's what Pulsechain is doing right now as well. Is it's washing out people who don't have the long-term vision and don't want to hold their bags long-term, and distributing the tokens to people who do. And we're doing the same thing at the same time. So I think that also will play in the favor of helping us do good amount of exits in the next run as well. Just the fact that we're distributed in a lot better manner. And this will just happen naturally as we go on too. This run up, let's say, consolidates down, and then it gets distributed even more, and then it runs up again and consolidates down. Even like micro cycles, like we had last time, but even the big cycle, the 4-year cycle, like that's ultimately what happens with projects with longevity just as much as the short cycles. It's just obviously a larger time horizon.
Appreciate it, Zach.
So, Mando, one of the main things we were talking about this spaces is just what really attracted you to pTGC and UFO over other projects, or just in general. Do you mind giving a 1 to 2 minute summary about what, because you obviously attracted to it very early compared to most people. So I would love to hear like really what caught your eye about the ecosystem and why you decided to obviously put your time and energy into learning and talking about pTGC and UFO.
Sure. So I really enjoy speculating in the space. I mean, love the meme coin space, which is basically the large majority of the space. For the gambling casino that it is. But I recognize what it is. I don't sit there trying to blow steam up my ass thinking it's going to, we've got the next Shiba Inu every launch, And to be honest with you, I started to just develop fatigue on that that situation, just because people even started to just launch memes without anything going on, right? So when I was introduced to this, and I saw the underlying fundamentals of it, I'm thinking,
Okay. And I may have said this a few weeks ago, but I don't taxation without representation is theft, and being taxed in a compulsory manner where you have no option to opt out is evil, in my opinion. But if a tax is beneficial to you and you can opt in, and the tax is used in a benevolent way, a tax can be very beneficial. So I saw the tax as something that was very interesting and unique. But then when I realized how the underlying mechanics work on these layer ones with arbitrage opportunities, and I saw that arbitrage bots can pay me money and can continue to pay me money infinitum, in perpetuity, and that the arbitrage opportunity only gets larger for the bots that continue to pay me out, and that the yield I would be earning here isn't coming from inflation, but it's actually coming from the activity of the underlying blockchain. It was just like a light bulb went off for me, and it just became so self-evident to me that this ecosystem has solved something that frankly is not solved on any other blockchain. There's no other system like it. And to me, it is a long-term value proposition because you can't stop it. And it's, the benevolence of the founders have been, amazing. But at the end of the day, the system is paying me, is incentivizing me to not sell it, which is not normal in crypto. Because in crypto, basically the only thing you can do is sell a thing once you have a certain amount of profits built into it, because there's no built-in incentive to not sell it. The only way you can profit from it is to sell it. And I'll be honest with you. There's conversations about how to take profits and liquidity pools, and liquidity providing and all this. But for the large majority of individuals, they don't want to deal with all those different things. So the simplicity of this ecosystem was also very attractive to me, because I can just make a purchase, I can stake, and I can instantly start earning yield in a hyper deflationary asset. And it is in fact an asset, because there's actual real underlying value that's continuing to be added to my investment, which is also unique, because the large majority of these things out here, there's way too many people that have way too many coins, and we have to trust them that they're not going to dump on our head. And then at the same time, you're really not earning any yield or anything like that. And if it is, it's either from inflation or from a farm that's running out of energy. None of that is happening here. So the beauty of this ecosystem to me was the simplicity of it, was the innovation of it. I loved that it was deployed on Pulsechain, which is my chain. And the chain that I believe has the most underlying fundamentals to actually make it very successful. So, in a soundbite, I still have the challenge out there to anybody. Show me something that's better than the pTGC ecosystem. Fundamentally, the value proposition, the tokenomics, the mechanics, it is truly a financial protocol built on top of a decentralized layer one blockchain that's constantly making my tokens more rare, more scarce compared to the underlying physical liquidity pools that give it value. And to me, that is the exact reason why we're in cryptocurrency. That is the exact thing we look for. So in an ocean of 99% pump and dumps, there is that 1% that is very unique. And in my opinion, the greatest currency and the ecosystem is that ecosystem. Fundamentally, not because I say it is, but because we can actually have a conversation and show you why it is.
Yeah, thanks, Mando, and thanks for bringing up Pulsechain too. I just recently had someone in my comments talking down on the fact that we were built on Pulsechain, and I didn't like kind of go back and forth with them. I just said like, you know, our time will come here on Pulsechain, and I think when Pulsechain starts to move in the direction that we believe it will move, it will really open up everyone's eyes to how strong this multiplying X theory is, and why this doesn't happen on other chains. It alone makes protocols like ours and other protocols here on this blockchain very, very strong and undervalued currently, just due to the blockchain being undervalued.
Well, it's a
And just
network
'cause
effect. It's network effects, and the longer Pulsechain remains Pulsechain, the longer we move into the future and Pulsechain survives, the higher probability that it does very, very well. And you know, the options that are currently out there are things like, you know, Sol and things like, you know, some of these other things. But I don't know if you saw what was posted by Mario yesterday, but Solana just got done with some massive bug security issue. They didn't tell anybody that there was a massive, like 66.6% network attack. And they told nobody on the network until they derived a solution for it. It could have been an absolute disaster, but they're not telling anybody about anything, right? I'm so glad that my investment is not built on a blockchain that shuts down all the time, or that the people are working on bugs where there's malicious things going on and no one even knows until they, in quotes, fix the thing. The reason why I like Pulsechain so much is because it is a next generation version of Ethereum, which is a tested, phenomenal blockchain, you know? So I would never want pTGC built on any other type of a blockchain. I'm very thankful that it's built on Pulsechain, because I know that Richard and the devs built Pulsechain, and they built it with robustness and security and decentralization and censorship resistance in mind. And you can say all you want about Pulsechain, but it exists and it works. And there's plenty of liquidity on the chain for where it's at right now. And in the regulatory environment and the still very infancy of this industry, you have to be a moron to not see the potential opportunity that exists currently on Pulsechain, period.
And also, a protocol like this wouldn't even function properly on those other blockchains due to tons of reasons. It's a very unique situation we got over here.
I mean, at the end of the day, people are in crypto to speculate for profits. You know, sure, have your portfolio set around, but if you're speculating in crypto to make profits, you know, this is a derivative of Ethereum, faster, cheaper, you know, tons of liquidity on the chain, a lot of great people, a lot of great things being built on the chain. Yes, there's drama. Yes, there's issues. Like when you deploy a blockchain, it's a worldwide unstoppable force. You're going to have sects, you're going to have religions, you're going to have groups of people, you're going to have organizations, you're going to have all these different crazy things. None of that actually matters, though, in the grand scheme of things, you know? So you got to really learn how to cut off all the fat emotionally and just really look at what's actually being built and what's actually already there. This space can change so quickly. And that's why I think fundamentally you chose the right chain, because I do think Richard's an awesome guy. And anybody who's been on the journey knows kind of what the journey looks like and what it is. But to me, I think that Pulsechain is an amazing accomplishment, not only for Richard, but for the community. And it will have its time. And pTGC, I believe, is the best PRC20 token. on Pulsechain, and it's exclusive to Pulsechain. I really just don't see anything else that even comes close.
Yeah, fundamentally too, Pulsechain hits every box. Kind of like how you're talking about how when you're looking at pTGC, you had like a checklist and you're like, it's hitting every box that you're looking for a long time investment. As far as like building on this blockchain, it hits all those boxes that other chains don't, that we were looking for. So if you look at the product and kind of not pay attention to the chart, not pay attention to what's going on in the background and the SEC stuff and all that kind of stuff, if you think about the fundamentals of the blockchain itself, it checks every box. It's safe. It's cheap. The fact that it's at a low is actually a good thing. I know a lot of people are looking at it as a negative thing right now, but the volatility is a good thing if you can take advantage of the volatility. If you're getting wrecked by the volatility and selling the highs or buying the highs and selling the lows, obviously it's not a good thing. But if you use the volatility to your favor, hence pTGC and UFO did our best to take advantage of that in a tokenized format, but the opportunities are endless here right now. And I feel secure that we were able to build on something that has been technically tested for, I think Ethereum's 10 years old. Do you know how old Ethereum is, Mando?
Yeah, 2014, I believe, is when it was deployed.
Okay, yeah, 10 years. So it makes me feel confident. You know, all this stuff has been battle tested. Even like our bridge, like Richard Hart put a lot of thought into, you know, using a bridge that has been battle tested and has been running flawlessly for many years, not creating his own and trying to fix something that wasn't broke. And sometimes
and here's the other thing too, Zach. You know, you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, why doesn't PulseX have this feature and that feature and every other feature? You know, the features that were fun in DeFi summer of 2020. You know, why doesn't it have this farm or that farm? But in reality, the large majority of people that have ever made money in crypto made money off of an X of their profit taking. They made money off of X, right? The only people making a shitload of money in crypto from farms, for the most part, are big whales that have big positions, and then they just drain the system, you know? I don't really care about those kind of things. I care about underlying fundamental value. Okay? If I want to speculate, I'll do it in meme coins. And I don't have to put my money in a farm where I don't trust the dev and I have no clue what the hell's going on over there. We've seen it happen not only on Pulsechain, but on anything else, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, it has to be fundamentally sound for me as an investor. Okay, now I'm talking about Zen. I'm talking about my portfolio and the percentage of my portfolio that I allocate as a real investment, not a freaking meme coin, not trying to get 100x in 5 days and all this kind of shit, right? What part of your portfolio, what percentage do you actually have allocated to what you truly believe is a real investment in cryptocurrency for the longer term? There's just not a lot of that out there. You know, there's just not. So what are you left with?
Well, that was kind of one of my problems when I got here. Is in the DeFi, I was brought in through Hex, like really in the DeFi where, you know, it's fully decentralized. You're using Uniswap. You're on a MetaMask wallet or a hardware wallet, was through Hex. And as far as like having businesses outside and me wanting to bring money into crypto as far as investment purposes, when I landed here, it was just a bunch of gambling. Like Hex was one of the main things that I found that was more of an investment protocol and not just a meme coin gambling. And that was a problem I ran into. And that's why my team started actually building this. No one was actually trying to solve financial problems. They were just trying to create meme coins and pump and dump people in 5 days or just give up in 5 days if their meme didn't catch on, etc. No one was actually trying to solve financial problems and create actual investment protocols that can do X's. Like, look at Hex. Like, Hex is technically an investment protocol, in my opinion, and it did plenty of X's. You can have both. It just obviously takes a lot more hard work and effort to get both. It's a lot easier to just copy paste a contract that's just a meme token and putting a funny logo on it and seeing if it catches on, or wait for some hype event to happen and then put whatever that hype event is as the name title, like ear, when Trump got shot in the ear. But my point of it is I got here to invest, and what I ended up staring at was just a bunch of meme coin pump and dumps. And then for me, it works out because the competition now is just, there isn't a lot of competition actually trying to solve these problems, which makes it a lot easier for you to win when no one else is running the race. They're playing a completely different game. So that makes it really nice for our protocol. And in my opinion, RH's products as well too, because everyone out there isn't really trying to solve issues. And I
Zen, let me say this before I forget. In 2020, when it was when all this was brand new, and only a very certain elite group of people knew how to deploy a actual smart contract on the blockchain, you saw what happened with SHIB, and you saw what happened with DeFi Summer and the farms and all of that stuff. But we're not there anymore. Period. Now you can have an amazing narrative. You can deploy a meme coin. It could go to a $200 million market cap. And then what happens? Because now the technology's there where any Joe Blow can literally duplicate that smart contract in 5 seconds, put up a website, and then instantly dilute that market, you aren't seeing the same type of run-ups, even in the meme coin sector, that we saw in 2020. It's just not happening. How could it when it's so easily able to be diluted? Even you got a meme coin that comes up, Nero or whatever the hell's the next one, and then 10 pop up behind it. Exact same name, exact same dog, exact same. It's a joke. It's a joke. So fundamentally, yes, the blockchain has to be sound, but I'm going to tell you right now, there is going to be a shift because people are going to get sick of getting pump and dumped on. And that shift is going to be toward real value, real innovation, that actual investors can see the underlying reality of what's actually happening. And I'll be honest, I think pTGC is like one of the very first innovations in the space that delivers that for somebody who's actually looking to not just lose their mind and lose their life force on the live new pairs section of DEX tools, looking for the next shitcoin to ape into. How about just invest in something that you believe has fundamentals, and now you can go play with your daughter. Now you can go play baseball with your son, right? You're not sitting there on suicide watch because you're depressed in a freaking cave. I've seen this happen for so many people in crypto, my close friends. You know, you get them in, and then they just get addicted to this chase of the next 5x or whatever. With pTGC, I don't have to worry about that. I just take my position and I let it do what it's going to do. Now, I'm going to tell you, if I'm making gains in shitcoins, I'm putting it back into this ecosystem.
Yep.
And if I like Pulsechain and I like RH tickers, I'm putting it back into this ecosystem because it's a derivative. It's a leveraged derivative of RH's ecosystem. And lastly, I'll just say this, and I'm going to mute myself out. I love the fact that I can earn yield, and I love the fact that it's not coming from inflation. And I love the fact that it incentivizes me to hold the price up, like Richard used to talk about, without impacting the price negatively by flooding the market constantly with new tokens. So kudos to you, man. And I'm going to get back inside with my family, but man, I hope everybody's doing good. And love pTGC. I think we're going to absolutely crush it.
Yeah, that's the thing with the meme coin space is people tend to forget that it's player versus player, and 99% of people lose and one person wins. And the honest truth is usually you're going to be the one losing unless you have some inside information.
Agreed. Amit has permission to speak, but before you speak, Amit, I want to get to Demian, who had a question. He says, question for potential whales to want to get involved. If we create new LPs with UFO or pTGC with alternative tokens, do these LPs become locked automatically to help the overall web? Zen, I'll let you answer that.
So no LPs ever get locked. So anyone could come in and buy pTGC and create a liquidity pool with any other token out there. As far as like UFO goes, if he's talking about, and maybe you could ask him, or if he's listening, if he adds liquidity on UFO on our DApp, it's completely tax-free with any of the RH tickers and PDI. So you can go and add to any of those pairs free of fees, and you can remove those anytime you feel the need. It's not locked at all. You can come and go every day if you pleased. With pTGC and not the RH pairs and PDI, if you add the LP just on the Pulsex DApp, you do get hit with the fee of the token though, because our fees are on every transaction. So there is a little bit of a negative there to where it doesn't make sense to go and come so rapidly, like let's say once a week, because you need to obviously make back what you spent in the fees for it to make sense personally. But with UFO, it's a lot more versatile to where, since the fees are wiped using the DApp, and the DApp is just Pulsex, it's just a smart contract interacting with Pulsex. So you can actually see your PLP tokens in your wallet on Pulsex at any time or on Pulsescan, but it wipes the fees for you. So it makes it very easy to come and go as you please as a whale. But no, nothing's ever locked. There's no time locks with these protocols, except if you decide to with pTGC, nothing with UFO. So if a whale is looking to add LP, it's completely free. It's all your tokens. It's in your wallet at all times. This isn't built like a normal farm. Most farms, you actually even lose custody of your tokens when you're trying to earn additional APR. You're technically picking up pennies in front of freight trains, especially with a farm that is brand new and untested. But with our protocols, the PLP tokens stay in your wallet at all times. And that's just due to the specific design of our protocols, because we don't even want your tokens. It makes no sense for me to hold your tokens. I don't even want that responsibility. So, yeah, it's completely liquid, just like any other token out there for the most part.
Yep. I look at my UFO pairs as locked, though. They're not locked, but they're how can I put it? They're fixed. they're going to stay there and not move. That's how I look at mine. He has another question. More strategy related. Is it possible to wrap pTGC and UFO for other chains like ETH and Base, but maintain price parity with Pulsechain versions?
I would have to look into it. The thing with fee-based tokens is they have a lot more restrictions than non-fee-based tokens. And I believe fee-based tokens have issues with being wrapped and sent to other blockchains. But I haven't gone down that rabbit hole to an extent to see if it is possible. I assume it's possible with the right people working on it. But as far as my little bit of understanding of how that works is, I know that doing things like that with fee-based tokens is a lot more difficult than non-fee-based tokens.
One more question from the YouTube chat, Amit, and then we'll get to you. Pulse Life says pTGC IPFS download would be lit. What's an IPFS download?
So you know how PulseX is, PulseX mainly, the Pulse Bridge, etc.
Right.
Became way more decentralized. I think that would be pretty lit. I think that would be pretty cool. I've actually asked someone to start looking into it. I haven't made much progress other than that goes, but I think that would help us land morally and more decentralized, which is the most important thing. But I think that helps us follow the course of where RH is trying to push the blockchain, and also the things we believe in as pTGC and UFO align with RH's beliefs as well, and just where crypto should be. So it's something I've actually asked someone to look into. I just haven't followed up or made much progress on it, truthfully, but it would be really awesome.
Okay, IPFS, just for the audience, if you didn't already know, you probably did. It stands for Interplanetary File System. It's a decentralized peer-to-peer protocol that allows users to store and share files in a distributed file system. And yeah, I've heard about this. I've used it actually, the PulseX version of it. And I hear that it's like you said, the way that RH is moving things, and he kind of front ran the industry on that, which it was.
Well, you know what's interesting is, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there's a stream from, I think, 2 to 3 years ago where John McAfee was building a DEX, and his huge selling point of that DEX is he was going to make it to where that DEX was pretty much what RH just did. That DEX was going to be multi-chain though, and it was going to be ran by every individual across the whole entire world via the IPF downloads. And he was doing that because obviously he was fighting the government as far as centralization goes. So any product that he was making, but I believe, and this is obviously a theory because I watched that video, I believe that idea was actually created by John McAfee, and John McAfee never got to actually put that into realization, and then RH did, which is huge. And it's technically really big, in my opinion, that no one's talking about it, because it makes us ultimately the most decentralized DEX in all of blockchain, because it can't be shut down as far as my knowledge goes. And that was John McAfee's goal, is he was trying to build a decentralized exchange, even if John McAfee got outed, which he did of some sort. Who knows what actually happened. But that's kind of what RH put together here. And I believe he got that knowledge from John McAfee, because I'm sure they had private conversations behind the green screen. And I actually believe that RH probably picked his brain quite a bit, and probably did a lot more as far as John McAfee's vision as far as decentralized blockchains go and decentralized DEXs than we even know at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah, that video is very interesting. But yes, that theory, I believe, was developed by John McAfee, and then just never executed, and then RH executed it.
Yeah, instead McAfee was executed.
Yes.
Amit, you're muted, but you can speak now.
Hey, good morning, guys. Really
morning.
interesting conversations. This is why I like listening in. It starts off with, a hype about a coin, and then it just turns into a bunch of different topics that are super interesting. So yeah, the spaces is pretty cool this morning. I raised my hand before Mando got to speak, and honestly, the guy basically just explained exactly my thoughts on what I think of in terms of this ecosystem. Even more, he's a lot more knowledgeable than I am about what he's invested in. But I guess that was my point. I just wanted to let any new investor know that
Banana, is Amit talking? Because I don't hear him on my end.
Yes, he's
Can
talking.
you guys hear?
I
Can
can
you guys
hear
hear
you.
me?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
drop down and come back up.
Okay, I hear you, Amit.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of let any new investor know that I am pretty new in this. I got in pTGC back in December, but I didn't really understand what it was, and I held it for quite a while. As soon as I understood what it does and how important it is to my portfolio as an investment, as something that is for me something that would be longer term, that's when I started adding to it aggressively. Even at the tops, I didn't really care. I just dollar costed as much as I could. I also used the meme space coin, the meme space, for that particular reason. There's two protocols that I really love in crypto, and that's TitanX and RH, a bunch of RH coins. And just recently, over the past 3 weeks, I saw UFO at a pretty good low, and I thought this could be an opportunity, not just to take a position, but take a position that would make a pretty good change in my portfolio. If you like to speculate, so I love to speculate. That's why I'm in crypto, and I kind of sat there listening to a bunch of you guys talk over the past month, and then I created sort of like a picture of what I think my portfolio will look like in 4 months. And I've learned over the past 6 months that if you're not looking at your favorite projects when they are at their lowest and getting excited to put in some good money, then you don't really understand the crypto space. Because I notice a lot of people that I follow and a lot of people that I interact with, they're super smart, and they don't chase green candles. We get excited with green candles. That's 100%. That's what crypto is all about. But I'll give you a good example. When Dragon X was at its bottom in April, I took all my profits from my meme coins and I put it into Dragon X. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody cared about it. But I know a lot about that ecosystem, and I spent a lot of time studying it. And the same thing happened 3 weeks ago when I saw UFO at 2.5 million market cap. I thought, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. This is completely undervalued based on what I know about the ecosystem. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. I love buying lows on ecosystems that I truly believe in. And if you want to speculate on that, then, it might actually work out for you. The meme coin space is absolutely ridiculous. You can make profit off it, but man, just like Mando said, I started getting so upset at these pump and dumps, and I'm like, fuck, I'm on DEX tools all the time and trying to look for that 5X, and I'm thinking, this is not what I got into crypto for. This is absolutely ridiculous. And it wasn't even about losing money anymore. It was almost like an addiction. And as soon as I understood what was happening, I removed myself from that space. Am I still in meme coins? Yes. But how do I navigate that space now as compared to 4 months ago? Completely different. I took my profits, I put it into the coins that I really, really enjoy and long-term holds. And I feel so much better about what I'm doing. I don't chase a bunch of shit on DEX tools every single day. It's a completely different life. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. This protocol is super exciting. And the one event, I guess, I'm really, really, really looking forward to is the rise of price action for Pulsechain. And you can speculate all you want, but when it happens, it's going to be really interesting to see some of these other projects built that are tied in with all these liquidity webs. That's what I'm really excited about. Yeah, anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Hey, Amit, you might have said this, but I obviously had to drop down and wasn't hearing you. Could I ask you where or how you heard about pTGC and UFO and what grabbed your attention as far as your portfolio goes? if you remember.
Yeah, so I started off with Hex back in August of last year, about a year ago. Started listening to people like Crypto Coffee, and got into Hex. I staked a little bit, and then Pulsechain was a buzz. I got into Pulsechain, and then I heard this guy on YouTube. I started following him. I found him on X. And Crypto Kindness, and he started talking about it, and I really liked the guy. He was pretty honest, and he can kind of like a trustworthy personality, and like he was with Titan X, so I trusted him. Right, we were both in Titan X, and then he started talking about pTGC. I'm like, what the hell is this? I didn't get in right away, but what made me FOMO in is when I started understanding how the price of pTGC is reacting in comparison to the underlying blockchain, Pulsechain. And when I started understanding the correlation a little bit, that's when I first started getting in. And then I started seeing all the people in the community, and they weren't a bunch of jerk-offs. They're just a lot of smart people discussing the blockchain and the different types of liquidity webs. And that's what really got me interested in pTGC to begin with. But just recently, over the past month, I would say, I got into UFO as well. And it's more for me is if I didn't listen to you guys talk and enter spaces and spend some time really understanding what it is that you guys have built, I wouldn't have put as much investment as I have into the protocol.
Yeah, that's awesome to know where we're actually finding, people like you, and like obviously we found Banana from Crypto Kindness as well, who like the ecosystem. So for me, that's valuable information.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm glad I can share. And thanks for having these spaces. It really helps people like me understand what direction we're going in. Obviously, I can make my own choices, but when we have discussions like this, it really lifts somebody's spirits, and it makes me want to learn more. I spend more time understanding what it is that we're doing, and it's forward thinking. There's some of these communities out there, I'm sure you can all agree, that just, they're like cancer. And it's just really, really nice to not have to pay attention to that stuff. Just block it out. And if you're happy with what you're doing and you're happy with your portfolio, there's a lot to look forward to in these upcoming times.
Yeah, I agree. I think I make it a goal, or I hope everyone in our community makes it a goal to just put on the blinders to all the toxic behavior on Pulsechain, and just focus on the growth of our ecosystem and the growth of us as a community as far as our knowledge of the blockchain goes, and just knowledge of the product in general. And when the blockchain starts succeeding, we'll start winning even more than I even feel like we're winning already. If you look at the UFO chart against Pulsechain, it's just sitting at all-time highs, constantly breaking into new all-time highs. And I'm happy to put on the blinders to toxic behavior and just focus on the goal, because in my opinion, there's no reason to even partake in that if you don't have to.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I think the people that do partake in that are the people that unfortunately are locked in to a bad investment that has gone down, and they're just pissed. And it's mostly meme coin spaces and people creating these tokens that are just pump and dumps. I just really feel bad for a lot of people, because that was me not too long ago. And now I've learned, you can choose your direction. You don't need to be part of these communities, and you become part of these communities if you're dumb enough to put a large part of if you allocate a large enough part of your portfolio into a moonshot that has no foundation. And at first it feels good because you make a couple of X's, and then all of a sudden the community falls apart, the coin goes to shit, the price is half as much, and then you become, that's how I think the behavior comes to be. And if you maintain your portfolio, a high percentage into projects that have an excellent foundation and you truly believe in, even when the price goes down, that behavior, it just goes away altogether.
Yeah, I feel like you have to spend a little bit of time in the space to find those protocols. Like, obviously, you're talking about some other protocols that seem to have put a lot of effort into their tokenomics and their design. And I feel like a lot of the times when people land here in crypto, it's the scams and the shiny objects that get their attention. And then they obviously are looking at those shiny objects thinking, oh, this is it. But really, it takes a little bit longer of digging to find the protocols that actually have product market fit. It's not the first thing that catches your eye, because the first things that catch your eyes are usually scams because they have unlimited marketing budgets, because they're just scamming people. So that, everything they market or every dollar they make, they could spend on marketing because it's not an actual real investment. It's just a scam. So you actually have to spend a little bit of time in space, learn, educate yourself, find the right people to follow, because that's going to put you in the correct direction instead of just landing here and be like, oh, I need to make some X's. What's the first thing I see? It's like, oh, it's the reason this got my attention is because it's a scam, because it has an unlimited marketing budget, because it's a scam.
Derek, did you have something? Sorry, go
well
ahead.
said. I've learned. That's how I learned. I learned through mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and tell my whole story because it's quite long. But I got into crypto in November 2017 with no knowledge, zero. I just put a bunch of money in, and that was the top of a market cycle. I didn't even know what a market cycle was. That's why I lost. But anyways, it took me years to understand communities, what they're built on, what things represent, how meme coins work. And like Mando said, that shit's evolved to a point now where it's just stupid. Those opportunities are gone. They're far gone. People still think that it works the same way, and it doesn't. It's actually evolved to a point where I believe 99% of the people thinking that they're investing their money into something, even if it goes up, you're not going to be able to pull your money out. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's not as easy as it was in 2019, 2018, 2017, even 2020, 2021. You have these arbitrage bots that work. People can do things that you are unaware of. And once you become aware of what people can do in this space, you start looking at your money in a very different way. That's what happened to me. I stopped gambling my money away. I know this is a gamble, but it's a different type of gamble. You can go to the casino and blindly put your money into slots, but there's certain aspects of this crypto space that don't have to be 100% zero chance of winning. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you can definitely make it so things are in your favor instead of just, saying this on red, this on black, or pulling the lever of a slot machine.
100%. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Derek, what's happening?
Derek,
Yeah, hey guys, I'm here. So I just wanted to come off mute real quick because I just wanted to give a shout out to Ahmet for sharing his story, as it seems very similar to what my story was in terms of how I initially got into pTGC. And as I learned more about it, I just started investing more into it because this is really a sound project and ecosystem. So that's really the only comment that I wanted to share. It's amazing how two different people can have very similar stories and backgrounds. So I just really appreciate him sharing that.
Hey, Banana, can you do me a favor? Can you tell me the amount of volume Titan X had the last 24 hours?
Yep. Give me a second. Happy to. Just a minute. I don't want to mess up my tab, so I'm pulling up a new one. And my computer's probably pretty loaded with tabs, so it's taking a second. $1.2 million.
When Titan X pTGC pool.
Yeah, we don't have one. I noticed we have one. We have a, hold on a second. I thought I saw yes, we have a Titan X UFO pool. And a Titan X. No, I don't think we have a pTGC and Titan X pool.
You said it was with UFO. Is it on Ethereum or is it on Pulsechain or Pulse?
The Titan X UFO pool is on Pulsechain V2.
Sweet. All right, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay. I'd consider Dragon X too. Dragon X is a leverage play on Titan X.
Yeah, I'm just looking on like the speculating aspect of just getting more volume. And high tokens with a lot of volume is good things to attach to.
Mm-hmm. Paul Sachs, Secreto Bank, does it work on Ethereum? I think it's only a Pulse. I think it's only for Pulse. But let's find out.
How big is that Titan X pool with UFO?
Oh, hold on a second. It's $1.
Oh, I thought it was a little bit more. All right, never mind. Or
Okay.
things to talk about in the future.
Yep. Keeping our options open. We'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes. But if anybody wants to come up and talk about how you got into pTGC and UFO, just give a little bit of your backstory, then now's a good time. And if you're watching on the YouTube and you want to jump in, just jump in the space. You can go to my Twitter, Prairie Banana, and find the space there. And then you can jump in and raise your hand.
If Shaka's still listening, maybe he can come up and talk about what drew him into pTGC and UFO.
Yeah. We'll put him on the spot.
Crypto Stylist has already given us that. If she wants to come up, she could say it again for any new people listening in. Iceman as well. Iceman holds a lot of spaces.
Oh, he does. Okay. How's it going, Shaka?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, so for me, I was a Zenian. I guess I'm still a Zenian. Still believe in that side as well. But I had burned quite a bit of Zen for pTGC when burning Zen was a big thing. And I received an airdrop. And once I got that airdrop, I started looking into the protocol. And it seemed really interesting to me. It seemed something new, something I had never seen. So I just started following it a little closer and then kept adding and adding and just was watching green candles. And And then I'm kind of a research guy. I like to do my research before I go real deep into things. So I actually reached out to Zen and Telegram to see if he would take a call. And fortunately he did. And he really explained to me how it worked and helped me understand the arbitrage bots and how all those fees keep rolling back into the system. And it got to the point where I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And that's a place to park funds, park gains that can go to work for themselves. I have a business background. I've had a few different businesses, some large, some small. And you're always looking to put your capital to work for you. One of the companies that I owned was a heavy equipment rental business. And we rented everything from forklifts to boom lifts to scissor lifts to backhoes and loaders, etc. And the best way to grow that business and the best way that it grew well for me was to continue to reinvest and put that to work. When all of a sudden I had a little extra cash, I was much better off buying more scissor lifts, buying more boom lifts, putting those to work. And start getting into the real estate game, and it was the same. You put the money in the real estate, you start renting these properties, pretty soon the properties pay for themselves, then you get this reoccurring income. Well, then I see pTGC and what it's doing. I'm like, this is essentially a business, for lack of better words. This is something you can park money in and invest, and it grows without any inflation. So it really became attractive to me because it was finally something with true utility. I mean, true utility. None of this sacrifice stuff, none of this, all this utility because it prints this and it's inflation from here to get-go. This was a true utility where I could see myself investing, adding assets, and getting a return. And even at this low volume, the return is higher than any piece of commercial property I own today. Hands up in the air, honest to God's truth. Every single week, month that I claim, it's a higher return than any of my investment, real estate, buildings, plots of land, etc. I have no employees over here. I've got no tenants. I've got no customers. It's just a place where I can grow the money that I invest in. I personally, at least at the time being, never plan on selling any of my principal of either projects, pTGC or UFO. I completely look at this as gathering income from those returns. And essentially, at a given point in time, the amount that I have gained from those investments will be greater than the amount I originally invested in. So from a commercial real estate business side, that would be like, you buy a building and all the rent you take from that building, you use to paying yourself back until you've paid yourself back entirely for the building you purchased. As soon as you've done that, you've recouped all your capital and you're still going to get that income every single month. That's what I'm looking for. This is not a single, bull run, let's exit. None of that. That's not what this is for me. I do have other bags of other coins for that I play some of those games with and the assets I will exit on. But as for pTGC and UFO, they're completely different. They will get the X's because of the liquidity pools and everything tied into it. But those X's that I'm looking for are just to increase the value of the returns I'm going to get every single month by claiming my pTGC and claiming my Pulse with UFO. So again, this is just me personally speaking. It's been exactly what I've been looking for. I've found a founder that I can trust 100%. I don't know if anyone can say that about any other founder in crypto. And everything works. Everything is going exactly how it was said it was going to go. And it's working flawlessly. And we're at the bottom. I mean, we are literally at the bottom. I mean, how much lower can Pulsechain freaking go? And if we're able to get a better return than a typical investment at these levels, That's what excites me. So anytime I decide to add some more coins of any sort, I look to myself and I say, am I looking to build a quick exit bag, or am I looking to get long-term returns on that capital? And for me personally now, I'm about the long-term returns. I want a constant flow of what I refer to as mailbox money. That every month I go to the mailbox and everybody's rent checks are there, and that's what I'm looking to spend. That's what I will start cashing. So at some point, whether it be 6 months from now, a year from now, heck, maybe even longer, I will start selling my rewards and selling the pulse that UFO is printing for me. But the items that are locked in now and creating those assets, I will not sell. I've got a number of partners and friends that are in this real estate business, and no one ever talks about what the building is worth and when they're going to sell their building. It's purely about what the rent they can generate is, what the cash flows they can generate. It's never about, did this apartment complex go up in value or down in value? I can assure you that's never ever the conversation, ever, until the guy dies and their kids just want to cash out quickly. I mean, that's literally how that game works. So I see it this way. I'm very fortunate that I'll call it lucky with, being a Zenian and getting this airdrop, or else I would have never ever known about it. And then I add to the fact that the founder was super open to explaining the protocol, being very trustworthy. He's in the Telegram every single day. He answers questions. He's as honest as can be. He never shills it one bit. He's not bullshitting people and blowing smoke and trying to make it seem like, he's just this used car salesman. He doesn't have this fake phony smile as he's chewing gum super fast and, kind of dancing around like a politician. This is a guy that just speaks facts, knows what his projects are, knows what they're designed to do. And that's where I feel very comfortable investing in both pTGC and UFO. That's kind of how I got here.
Wow. That was so good. That was so good, Chaka. Thanks for that. Great story. Genuine. Well said. Well said. Guys, I think we're just going to go ahead and end on that one. So we will meet again on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll meet again next Saturday. And we'll have these opportunities also for you to jump in and give us your backstory. So if you guys want to think about it, write down some notes and jump in. One of the reasons that Zen and I want to do this is we want to hear, ultimately, this space that we're doing, this stream, is not about Prairie Banana. It's not about Zen. It's about a community, this community. And part of being in the community is being known. And we want to hear, I want to hear your voice. And we're building a community so that we can have strength going into this bull run. And I want to hear y'all's voice. And one of the ways we can do that is give you this opportunity. And not only just hear your voice, I do enjoy hearing your backstory, how you got into these projects. So plan on, if you haven't spoken yet, plan on doing that. And also, another reason for doing this is it can be an icebreaker. If you're hesitant about jumping up and speaking, we can all talk about ourselves, right? So yeah, jump in, talk, break the ice, and then I think this will be good. So we'll meet again on Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Zen, is there any final comments that you may have?
Yeah, thanks for coming up, Shaka, Derek, Mando. Thanks for all you guys sharing your story. Just like you're talking about, we enjoy building this community. As far as tokenomics of pTGC and UFO go, I think we're in a really good spot. I put a lot of effort into that. I love the trustless nature of it, and I also love to work on growing this community and hearing everyone's thoughts, how they got in, how they heard about us, and what their opinions on the ecosystem are in general, as far as like how they look at it from an outside perspective, like Shaka just went into. And you know, we show up here Saturdays and Mondays, and we're in the chat, and I really appreciate when people engage back with me and Banana, or me and Banana just sit up here and chat for an hour and a half straight. So thank you for coming up and sharing your stories.
Yep. Thanks so much, guys. Go out and crush it. Don't forget to compound your gains. Have a great weekend. And we'll see a bunch of you back on Monday. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, see ya.
Bye. Thanks for jumping in on the stream very much. Hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel. For the sake of crypto. Thanks, guys.